Welcome to Legends in the Making, the no BS, high impact show for leaders who refuse to settle for mediocrity. If you're tired of playing small, stuck in hesitation, or watching your teams operate at half capacity, this is your wake up call. Here's the truth: legendary leadership isn't about titles, talent, or luck. It's about discipline, alignment, and execution. In each episode, we cut through the noise and get straight to what really moves the needle: the brutal cost of staying comfortable and how to break free, why your energy dictates everything from execution to culture to bottom line results, and how to build unstoppable momentum without burnout, second guessing, or endless overthinking. This isn't theory. This isn't fluff. This is a playbook for leaders that want to ditch the ordinary and unleash the legendary. If you're ready to stop talking about potential and start creating undeniable results, you're in the right place. Let's get to work. And pardon me, today's episode is about how do we move from hustle to flow? And really, this is the leadership shift that changes everything. So, why the hustle era is officially dead and why the flow state is the future of legendary leadership. So, I think we really want to establish today that shattering the outdated hustle culture and introducing leadership energy is the new currency to success. And this is really shifting the whole conversation from what you are doing to who you are being. And we have associated action and activity with results when really what is driving the action and outcome is your state of being. It's the internal alignment that you have with the universe that ultimately matters, and why our culture needs to shift to alignment and who you're being and acting from that state, and reducing our hustle culture, which is just going out and having massive action, not really knowing where our results are coming from. And ultimately, when we look at that as well, it's costing us big time. And it's costing us big time because most people are acting from an internal state of either lack, fear, or attachment to an outcome, control. And they're not in the allowance of who they're supposed to be, the way they're supposed to be, what they're supposed to be offering in the world, and allowing for that to come back in. And so I am here to end the outdated leadership and start to develop legendary leadership. And the only way we do it is to understand the universe, how the universe works, and how we start to come into alignment and work in conjunction with all the universal laws that are governing us already, that really then start to dictate our outcome. And so if we think about the true cost of hustle, like what is it costing us? And when we think about the hustle culture, what are we talking about? Is it the person that's constantly working? Are we glorifying burnout because the harder I work, the more that I do, the more accomplished that I'm going to feel, which is very much an egoic badge of I just am so overworked, versus like, this is what I'm called to do, and I'm acting from a state of being. And ultimately getting results as part of that. Or do we have exhaustion as a marker of success? I don't think that that's what was intended for all of us. Our intention here is to come into alignment with who we truly are, the highest version of ourselves. And what is that internal state or frequency that you're supposed to be at, and acting from that place. And ultimately, when we're acting from that place and acting from alignment, that's when we're going to see the law of attraction, the law of giving and receiving, the law of reaping and sowing, the law of manifestation come into fruition. Like what you energetically alignment is with what you're ultimately getting back. And so, what is the true cost of a hustle culture? We have an epidemic of burnout at all levels. We have increased mental health challenges. People are trying to antiquate. They're not understanding. Part of the mental health challenge is understanding that we are our souls. We are our energetic body. That's who we are. Yes, we are a human being, but what's going on internally within us is related to our energy. And so when we're in alignment with that, everything else flows from that. And when you're in that alignment, you're also not in this tug of war with yourself. And there's a lot more that goes into that as well. And then I think there's just decision fatigue. I think people feel stagnant and stuck and they don't know what to do. They just look around and it's like, where am I going? What am I doing? And I don't even want to make another decision. And is this decision even going to be a good decision? Is it going to actually move people forward? They're no longer in this high energetic creative flow because they're in a place where their energy is burnt out. So some impactful statistics that I think everybody really needs to know is over 80% of leaders regularly experience burnout. Like they'll have short bursts, kind of come back into alignment, short bursts. And what's really happening is rather than focusing on how do you have consistency, how do you have not peaks and valleys, but a constant ability to regulate where you are at as a leader and not have highs and lows, but also to be where you're supposed to be, because when you're in your natural state, that's when you're the most creative. And our natural state is also our childlike, our the innocence of who we are. So we're to be as little children. We're to be creative and playful and thinking outside the box. And so we're also here to break through the societal constructs that are holding us back from being creative, from being playful, from fully activating who we are as individuals. And I work with many leaders across many organizations, looking at where they're at energetically and how we can really shift that to get them back to their more natural state and have practices throughout their day that keep returning them to who they truly are, so they're never reaching that state of burnout. So when I think of being in the leadership flow, I like to use the analogy of like when you watch a great basketball player, like I always think of Michael Jordan, like, and you can think of other ones, but when they're in the flow, it's almost like there's not a shot that they can't make. There's a pass that they can't make. There's a rebound that they can't get. Like it looks effortless. It's just everything is clicking on all cylinders. And so how I define the flow state is there's effortless clarity, aligned decision-making, intuitive leadership, and sustainable energy. And flow, in contrast with hustle, flow is aligned energy. Who am I right at this moment? What is my frequency? What's my emotional state? And I work a lot with David Hawkins' levels of consciousness, and there's scales in there. And the higher you move up the scale of frequency, you're moving into flow, where when you're in hustle and you're in the push mode, that's a forced energy. Like, I'm going to make this happen versus like, who do I need to be in order to receive what I'm working towards? And that should really be the way that we look at like, who do I need to be and what do I need to give in order to receive what I'm looking to accomplish? What's my ultimate end goal? And so, there is a vast difference in understanding people that are more aligned, people that are more centered, people that are doing small things like meditation and visualization and breath work to begin their day, having a 30-minute energetic cleanse in the middle of the day, wrapping up their day with some journaling, so you can leave that, whether that's at the office, whether that's at home before you go to bed, setting intentions for the next day. Mindfulness is really becoming prevalent, but I think it's more like energetic awareness or energetic intelligence, that is more important than emotional or your IQ intelligence. Can you read your own energy, but then can you read other people's energy? Where are people at? Not the spoken word, but learning to tap in of where people's state is so important. And that's the new leadership currency. And that's what I work with leaders on developing, is that energetic intelligence. How do you read and feel the room for what's the pulse of where people are at? And so, I love to work with, whether it's CEOs and C-suite executives, to, really any leader, how to use breath work, how to use visualization, and then how do you come into alignment with where you want to be operating from. Do you want to be operating from joy? Do you want to be operating from peace and calm and clarity? What's your vibe that you want to be putting out into that? And companies are starting now to heavily invest in energetic alignment practices, because they're starting to understand it's more about who you're being rather than what you're doing. So can you focus on what's my state of being versus what am I doing? And from the being state will come the flow state of right action. You want to be in right action. Action for the sake of action is really inaction. It's just causing confusion within the matrix, the universe, which then it gets confused of what am I trying to deliver. So, immediate shifts that you can make to get into the flow state is clearly define what's the state of being you want to be in. Happiness, joy, peace, clarity, calm. Do you check in and go, where am I at? And if I'm not there, why am I not there? What is causing me to have an energetic leak? Then you want to have like a 10-minute ritual, whether that's in the morning before you even start your day, whether that's in the morning and then once you get to the office, like really take 10 minutes to do some breath work and visualization to really get that established. And then have clear boundaries. We're all energy. So protecting your energy is boundaries. Who gets access to you? How long they get access to you? What type of access do they get to you? Like, boundaries aren't about keeping separation. It's about maintaining your energetic body with the frequency that it needs to be at, and understanding that when I establish who I am, people are going to understand around me, this is stuff that this individual doesn't tolerate. You actually don't even have to verbalize it. When you're focused on the energetics, it becomes a non-spoken. So, when you think about why do we have to make the shift? If you look at the world right now, most companies are struggling. Most companies are trying outdated tactics, and what they're not realizing that as we continue to evolve as a human species, as we continue to grow, we also have to grow our consciousness. And we also have to then understand that we are here to align with the universal truths and the universal laws that govern how the universe works. And so understanding that we are our souls, that we are our energy, and that our job is to tune that, because we each have our own unique frequency as an energetic body, is to just fine tune it and be super clear and clean in who that is, protect that energy, and understand that when I'm in alignment with that, then I get to go act in the world with right action. And so companies that are getting this are going to be light years ahead of companies that are still trying outdated tactics, because you're losing talent, you're losing money, you no longer have the competitive advantage. So energy alignment and purpose are now the greatest leadership currencies. They really are. Like, we don't understand that, but that's what the new currency is how am I aligned? Who am I and how am I aligned? And then what am I supposed to go do in the world to be in service, to then receive back what the universe wants to give me? And that plays out throughout for each of us as individuals, but then as an organization, the same thing applies. And you have to have similar people working towards similar goals with alignment if your company is going to attract and achieve its success. So it is time to stop the hustle, and it's time to start aligning. Legendary leaders don't hustle harder, they align smarter. So I would just say, if you're done with burnout, done with exhaustion, and ready to experience true aligned leadership, DM me the word flow right now. Let's get on a call. Let's talk about how we can make this a reality in your world. This isn't just leadership, it's legendary leadership. So I want to thank you for tuning in to Legends in the Making. This isn't just a playbook, but it's also what you need to go do to execute to be successful. Legendary leadership isn't built on ideas, it's built on alignment and right action. So ask yourself, what is one move you can make once you're aligned that would take you in the right next direction or the right next step? And if this episode hit home, please share it, tag a leader who needs to hear it, and let's create a ripple effect of unstoppable execution from the state of energy, from our energetic intelligence. So I look forward to so many of you reaching out, DMing of how we can make this a reality for you, for your teams, for your organizations. Let's stop playing small. Let's stop hesitating. You've got what it takes. Now we've got to go make it happen. This is Legends in the Making, and you are just getting started. Until next time, stay aligned, stay disciplined, and keep leading at the highest level.